So like for me, I'm always trying to not spend more on something like just because I'm like, oh man, that looks really cool. I
Yeah.
really should have one of those. So I'm dealing with the same problems as everybody else.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Joe Gray here today with another AMA warm-up where I get to talk to our upcoming AMA guests. Today I'm joined by Ken from Cerberus Strength USA. Ken, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Glad to have you here. I think we chatted a little bit earlier. If my memory is correct, you are our first strongman centered AMA. So, as
I
someone
think
who
so.
typically considers themselves in the powerlifter realm, but really, really, really loves some strongman lifts, I'm excited to talk to you and then have everybody else get a chance to talk to you when your AMA comes up. So,
No, me too. I'm super excited about it.
cool, man. All right. So we normally dive right into this, keep it short and sweet and good so people know what's going on. So our first question is, who are you? Why are you here?
So my name's Ken Nowicki. I own Cerberus Strength USA. I've competed in strongman since 2006. Um, Multiple times Scotland's strongest man, competed Jets Live, competed at, the Arnold and across the world, tested at World's Strongest Man a couple of times. So I've been around the block with strongman quite a bit the last damn near 20 years.
Right on. Can you give us a little bit of detail? So you and I use the term USA at the end there. Cerberus is in a handful of different places, right?
Yeah,
And can
so
you
it's
explain what the difference is between the home country and everywhere else?
yeah, so basically the way the business model works is that you've got head office is in the UK in Scotland, and then we have different, subdivisions, I guess, is the best way to put it. You've got the USA, you've got Canada, like Asia, um, Australia, New Zealand, and a handful of other stuff, Europe. So yes, basically like it's an ability where we can do order fulfillment and everything like that on a very quick turnaround versus trying to ship from the UK and all that sort of
Sure.
stuff.
Okay. You guys offer the same items and everything across the
For
board
the
for the most part?
most part, yeah, for the most part, there's certain things that like no, we don't do the calibrated plates in the US, for instance, just because the market's so saturated.
Sure.
Um, and honestly, the price.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But for the most part, everything else is exactly the same.
Okay. And if you were to buy one of your sandbags here in the US versus in Canada versus, over there or something, it's the same sandbag, right?
Exactly the
Yeah.
same.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So you talked about it a little bit. Can you give us a little bit more details? Question number two is tell us about your lifting experience. Kind of how did you get into lifting? Where did that come from? How does that fit into your daily life?
Yes, I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one that started lifting because of like WWF and Schwarzenegger movies, you know. So that's where it was. I mean, I was a bigger kid. I graduated high school at 260. Um, Pretty much I was, I'm trying to think like 231 at 16 and stuff like that. So
Okay.
I was lifting big and bigger kid and just enjoying it. I enjoyed the challenge of yeah, watching movies and wrestling. I was like, that's where it sort of came from. And I just started going to the gym, just to work out. And then I went and watched like a charity strongman contest, competed in the next year, and it just started rolling from there, and here we are, damn near 20 years later, um, running one of the biggest strongman brands in the world
Yeah.
for the US side of stuff. And I haven't competed in a little while. Injuries and stuff like that. I mean,
Sure.
like when you start competing at 17, you're sort of your competitive career is maybe not going to be as long as someone who's
Yeah.
starting with a bit of a stronger base, so to speak.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, like I'm still involved in the sport. I'm still heavily involved in the sport, heavily involved in grassroots level all the way up to top level strongman, be it from sponsorships or just talk to athletes, working with athletes, and things of that nature.
Awesome. All right. Number three takes us into what's your experience with the home gym community?
I mean, the big thing with I think with the home gym community with myself and then the products and the business side of Cerberus is that our stuff isn't just for, top level strongman or people, or even people competing in strongman.
Yeah.
A lot of our products can be used by home gym community. We've got barbells, we've got plates, we've got,
Yeah.
weight belts and sandbags and knee sleeves and wrist straps and the
Yeah.
list is endless. Myself personally, I don't have a I don't have a home gym, but I have a private gym. I
Sure.
used to own a gym in Washington State. When I moved out here to New Hampshire, I moved it all with me. So I have a 1,600 square foot gym in the back of our one of our warehouses that's just for me and employees, content generation, things of that
Yeah.
nature. But I think my opinion is that it doesn't really matter about the size, the same outlook applies.
Yeah.
Um, so like for me, I'm always trying to not spend more on something like just because I'm like, oh man, that looks really cool. I
Yeah.
really should have one of those. So I'm dealing with the same problems as everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. A buddy of mine who he lives town down. I hooked him up with, so I had bought a combo rack used for my garage specifically for when I host people over for my competition, right?
Yeah,
So for most of the year, it was sitting up in the rafters, and so he wanted to lift out of his garage. I was like, all right, how about we work out a deal? So he's like part owner of it, but it sits in his garage most of the year. And I'm like, when I need it, you bring it to me. Cool. So he was
yeah.
down here, we were talking, and he's like, he's looking at, because I've got, a wall of bars. And he's like,
Mhm.
oh man, I only have one bar right now, but like that one looks cool, and that one looks cool, and that one looks cool. And I'm like, dude,
It's
it never ends.
awful.
It never
It's
ends.
awful.
You buy every bar on the market, and then you're like, well, I haven't tried that one yet.
Well, it's that, but then it's also like, for me at least, it's like, man, okay, my shoulder hurts. Well, if I buy this bar, then maybe
Yeah,
that's gonna like that'll take some pressure off, and I can train around it as it
yeah,
heals and stuff like that. So, yeah, I
yeah,
totally get it.
yeah. I think that's a perfect segue to our next question. So, strongman. One of the big things that I know people see, especially from training at home, is they watch World's Strongest Man or the Arnold or something, and they're like, okay, nothing is done on a barbell with
Yeah,
normal plates, right? Like in a rack. It's this specialty bar that maybe they don't even sell. It's Conan's wheel, and they got to have 15 different stones. And then they come up with this weird thing where they're tossing a whatever over their shoulder and backwards. And like, how do you possibly train for strongman at home knowing that they've got all this wacky equipment, which looks like a ton
yeah,
of fun, but like there's just no way I could fit it in my garage.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. To be completely blunt, at the very top level of like say, like Rogue Invitational, World's Strongest Man, Arnold, it's a spectacle. So that's why they're making these things look larger than life.
Sure.
Um, but I mean, my entire career, I've trained on a barbell and an axle, and not add a trap bar in,
Yep.
So I think for stuff like, say you've got a side handle car deadlift, cool. It's a trap bar. It's a
Yeah.
squat. So there you can train trap bar. There you go. I mean, that's why I did train for Britain's Strongest Man in 2017. It was just heavy trap bar for reps.
Yep.
Um, front handle car deadlift, same deal. It's just going to be a regular bar. Just train regular deadlift. Sure, the mechanics are a little different, but
Sure.
if your deadlift's strong, then you're going to be good.
Yeah.
Conan's wheel. If you've got a yoke, you can do Conan's wheel because Conan's wheel is very similar just to like a Zerker carry
Just
and
going in circles instead of just
yeah.
back and
So
forth, right?
yes, I mean the way I would do is like I've done it myself, where it's a case of like you're just picking up a yoke in the crook of your elbow and you're just going and you're
Yeah.
going and going and going for as long as you can. Um, because you don't really have to worry about going around in the circle because with
Yeah.
the Conan's wheel you're attached, you just basically come to the end, picking it up, and then you're just letting it lead you.
There you go.
So I mean, yes, there's a lot of variety in strongman, but it's like stuff like if you can load a sandbag, you can load a stone
Yep.
for the most part,
Yep.
if you got to throw something over your head, grab a throw bag, one of the Cerberus throw bags,
Yeah.
preferably, and train with that. Okay, if it changes to a keg, try and find a pony keg.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time in grassroots level and even national stuff now, they're using throw bags and stuff like that because you go to a convention center, they don't want you throwing kegs inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
The floor is going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
So, a lot of this stuff is now leading in that way. So yes, there is a lot of variety, but I feel like it can be trained at home or whatever,
Yeah.
pretty easily for the most part. It looks daunting,
Yeah.
but I think it can be done. Just needs a little bit of creativity.
Cool.
So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I did. I told you I was writing an article for the competition, and it went out this week. And so I on purpose didn't ask you beforehand because I actually wanted to see what your answers look like compared to what my research and my own instincts said. And I came up with three kind of basic categories. So one was deadlift, right?
Mhm.
One was press, and the other one was like carries, throws kind of thing. And so I said, deadlift, like you just said, just get stronger, right?
Yeah,
If you can deadlift 800 as opposed to 600, it really doesn't matter if it's on an axle or a trap bar or a deadlift bar or the mammoth bar or whatever they come up with, right? You're stronger in that those muscles,
yeah,
the movement pattern, etc., is stronger. So you're good, right? Like you said, it's a bit different. The time where the bar
little bits.
engages, the
Yeah,
whip, all these different things definitely has a factor. Um, but except for at the highest levels, like the guy winning the competition isn't the dude who deadlifted 500 on the specialty bar. It's the dude who deadlifted 800 on the regular bar, right?
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and then for the press, I was like, same thing. You got a regular bar, just work your overhead press, work your clean and press. You're probably good. If you want to invest, you spend a couple bucks and you grab the Cerberus Strongman axle, right?
Yep.
Which weirdly enough, you can use for deadlifts, you can use for press, cleans, the whole deal. And then
Well,
go
I
ahead.
was going to say that and that's the thing, a lot of this stuff is very I guess universal is probably the best word.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the way I viewed it for a long time was like, I only train in a power bar.
Yeah.
And then when it was like, okay, you're going to be using a deadlift bar in competition, it's like, okay, I should really get a deadlift bar because I've never used one.
Yeah.
So that, or, like the axle, bench with it, takes pressure off your
Yep.
elbows and your wrists, squat with it.
Yep.
It's harder to keep on your back. There's so many
Yep.
of these little things.
Yep. Yeah, I had a discussion with Chad Wesley Smith a while back and similar concept, right? Hey, Juggernaut AI, is it going to want me to use 15 different bars and all these different things? And I threw out the asterisks like, I have them, right? Like, I've
Yeah.
got them all, but like, do I have to, right? If someone's watching this and they're like, I only have a bar or whatever. And he said the vast majority of his training was in a corner of a CrossFit gym in a
Mhm.
power rack with a Texas power bar and some plates. And he's
And that
like,
was
and
that was a lot of mine as well,
yeah,
especially when I was living in Colorado and before I had the gym in Washington and all that sort of stuff. I trained out of a CrossFit gym. I had my equipment was I had a log, I think I had a log and axle, a circus dumbbell, a power bar, yoke, farmers, and then sandbags, obviously, because of
yeah,
Cerberus.
yeah,
And that was it. And
yeah,
I'd managed to do everything, no
yeah.
problem.
You could shove all that in the corner of a garage. So
Easily. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And so the third one, like I said, so deadlift, press, and then the third one was carries, whatever. And I
Mhm.
was like, grab a sandbag, grab a throwing sandbag, and you're good. Because you can start
Yeah.
off and only fill up the sandbag a little bit if you
Yeah.
need to, then fill it up all the way. You carry it, you hug it, you zerker it, you throw it on your back, you throw it, you press it. All that stuff's going to be different. And then the throwing one, cool. Now, I mean, you basically got half of the things, right? You're going to train explosive power and stability and carries and all this different stuff. Like you said, it might not be exact, but you're pretty damn close.
Well,
So,
that's the thing. It's like, when it comes to like a lot of the carry stuff. So say like, okay, you've got a max distance Husafell stone. That could be trained with a sandbag. Yeah, okay,
yeah,
it's not the same, but you just bear hug it. You're going to get the same
yeah,
compression in your diaphragm. Your
yeah,
hamstrings are going to feel like crap,
yeah,
and you just and it's just that mental
yeah,
let's go type of thing.
yeah,
Same with so like if you've got a frame in a contest, you don't have to buy a frame.
Yeah.
Just train regular farmers, because when you go into doing a frame, because everything's attached, it's actually
Yeah,
easier.
there you go.
So if you
Yep.
can do heavy farmers, if you've got 800-pound frame and you can do
It's not swinging
350,
in and out
yeah, you
on
can do
you. Yep.
350 farmers or 300 farmers, you're good to go.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And farmers are crap. I see them on Marketplace for like $50 sometimes.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, super. Yeah. And
Marketplace is I mean, obviously a lot of gym users and people who have home gyms, they know First Marketplace is your best friend.
for sure. All right. So anyone who didn't get that, the key takeaway is you don't have to spend a lot of money to be able to train strongman at home. If you've got a home gym, you probably already got the basics. You might
Yeah.
have to add a sandbag or a couple of other things here and there, but you're probably well under a $500 total investment, and you can train the vast majority of the
Mhm.
main movements. So
Yeah. And
cool.
it's even like yoke. Let me just add this. Instead of buying a yoke, make a chain yoke.
Yeah, I've seen that.
They suck,
Yeah.
but they're terrible. But the carryover is monumental, and
Yeah.
they're cheap. There's cheap money.
Yep.
Don't go and spend $800 on a yoke until you really have to.
Yep.
Build everything on a chain yoke. I know a
There you
guy that
go.
did a lot of his career just chain yoke, and he killed it.
Yep. All right. So last question, take us home, is tell me one reason why people should be excited about your upcoming AMA.
I mean, I think you touched on it earlier, like with the first Strongman brand that's really been involved with geez, I was just got past there. Garage gym competition.
Yeah.
Um, but we've been involved a couple of years now, and now we're moving into more like being the Strongman provider. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big ones where Strongman is vastly different, but very similar to just, what everyone else is doing
Yeah.
in their home gyms. And I think we have something to offer from a perspective of, just a different outlook,
Yeah.
learning different things, learning if it's specifically about strongman, if it's specifically about, strength training in general. I
Yeah.
think we can hit every aspect of that. And we will do a couple of giveaways. I'm not going to tell them exactly what they are yet, but
Cool.
we're going to do a couple of those. I just think we just offer a different perspective. And especially, not to toot my own horn, I think having competed at such a high level for quite a long time, my outlook is different from a lot of other brand owners
Yeah.
as well in this
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, I've had a number of conversations over the years, and most people agree. You can tell the difference between somebody who uses their equipment and even other companies' equipment and actually uses it
Yeah,
versus is just a company that makes gym equipment and sells it.
exactly.
The difference in quality, the education aspect, all these different things. You can see people come out with the one I always pick on is Titan. When they first came out with their safety squat bar, they clearly talked to somebody at their shop and said, "Hey, this is what a safety squat bar is. Can you make it?"
Yeah.
Sure. They were wrong. They didn't have the offset camber, like nothing was the
Mhm.
way it was supposed to, and all of a sudden people buy it because it was cheap and affordable, and they started getting neck pain, and they were like, "Hey, is it supposed to feel like this?"
Yeah.
No. So yeah, that was a group of people who saw something on paper, tried to make it, didn't understand it. Yeah, as opposed to my guess is before Cerberus's stuff even hits the market, you guys have used and abused and
Oh
torn it
yeah.
to shreds.
Well, and that's the
And
thing. That's where Cerberus came from. So Cerberus actually started in the UK and Scotland, like I mentioned earlier, basically because of the limited availability of things. Like,
yeah,
strength athletes were pulling from other sports. Reband was a handball
yeah,
company initially, and then Yokohama started using their stuff for strongman, and then they were like, oh man, we can actually, there's a market here,
there
and
you
that's when
go.
they got into that. So that's where it came. And then touch upon what you mentioned about the education side of stuff. We're massive on trying to provide resources to educate and help athletes,
Yeah,
whether they're competing or not, to improve training and
yeah,
strength levels and grip strength and cardio, and even delving into mindset. Like, we've got a lot of like the blog stuff we do, like the written articles we do every week that we put out. And it's on a variety of topics. We do a pro tip every single Thursday.
Yeah.
Is with an athlete talking about whatever, like the one that we just put out this morning, was about like pain and injury management essentially. And I think that's a massive resource
Oh yeah.
versus just being like, hey, buy our bar,
Yeah.
buy this. I think that's what sets us apart
Yeah.
from some of the other people in the space, is that we actually try to promote that
Yeah.
educational side of stuff too.
Yeah. It's for me, it always comes off as a different sell. So you like some of the other companies. So I mentioned Freak Athlete earlier. I put them in a similar boat of when you talk to them, you go, they want to help people. Like they genuinely want to help people get better. And so their
Mhm.
products are that, right? They're not making everything because they can sell it. They're making it because they went, hey, this, we can make a better one of these, or this can help somebody avoid this injury or get stronger here or be better in whatever it is. So, you look at your guys' website and it's not like you sell 10, you don't sell benches, right?
Yeah,
Like you could make a bench, you could sell it.
yeah.
Somebody would probably buy a Cerberus Strength bench, right? But like, why? Right? You want to make the things that you guys use on a regular basis and actually believe in and stand behind. And like I said, I can tell can help people. So
Yeah,
yeah. So, all right, man. That's it. Those are our 5 questions. Anything
perfect.
else before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I mean, if you want to come and see us and visit our socials before the AMA, it's just like Cerberus underscore strength underscore USA, and then our website is just Cerberus-strength.us.
Cool.
So check us out, and then I'm looking forward to answering some questions in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. So I will leave details in the description below. I'll find your links. I'll put them in there. I'll leave a link to that article I mentioned about how to train strongman at home, all that good stuff, as well as the dates and everything. So that way you can come and ask Ken all your good strongman questions, equipment questions, whatever. As he mentioned, because he has competed in the past, he'll be able to cover both equipment questions as well as training questions, and all of the above, which is always a unique one. So all that'll be in the description. Check it out. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Later,
Thanks,
guys.
Joe.